Hey guys.
What up, peeps? What up? What up? Gucci gang, Gucci gang, Gucci gang, Gucci gang. Hey, Gucci gang. All right.
So, you guys, hopefully by now you've tuned in to last week's episode.
Woo!
Black women ain't
Woo!
we got down and dirty. We
Woo!
talked real. And y'all already know how it go. When it comes to this episode, we're tag teaming to last week's episode. We can't talk about the bogus females without hitting hard on the bogus males. So sorry, black men. We love y'all. But we definitely got to address this narrative that some women, some black women feel to be able to get to the heart of the issue and fix this whole narrative. So let's get started. So we, like last week, we reached out to our viewers, we polled the house and asked them the question, why do you think, in your opinion, that some black women prefer not to date black? And we also pulled up this interesting article to tag team our conversation for today. And the article is actually about Loni Love's comments on The Real regarding black men. And this article was written by Corey A. Haywood. Down below in the description, you will have a link to this article so that you can read it yourself. For those of you guys who don't know Loni Love, at this point, I would just say just Google her. The two main facts that I would, put out there is she is a comedian. And again, she's one of the 5 hosts on The Real. So, but today's topic is all about those 2 things, plus our own personal opinions. Y'all know how this go.
Y'all ain't right. Y'all been rocking with us. Y'all know how we finna hit this. So, y'all already know what time it is, man.
Yes.
Real
so,
talk.
let's definitely get into it. From the article that we read, what's one of the things that I guess either made you say, or...
Well, one of the first things I got when Loni Love spoke on the state of black men, how we ain't, because she's currently dating a white guy. No disrespect to the race, Caucasian race, I'm just saying.
Right.
But she jokingly said, quote unquote, that black men aren't capable of loving women properly or being faithful in relationships.
Now that's interesting that you say that, because one of our viewers actually commented and said, in their opinion, they feel like some black women prefer not to date black because of either previous hurt or same thing, felt like black men weren't able to love them properly, or even take them serious. They also mentioned that they, felt like some black men fetishized about them as opposed to looking at them as the actual human being with feelings and all that stuff. And we talked a little bit about that in the last episode, about how there's this, how the media makes some women feel that, some black women feel like, they aren't enough because they have to look a certain way, their hair has to be a certain way. So, like we said, we tackled the whole image thing. But to say that all black men don't know how to love properly. Yeah,
that's kind of, come on now. You can't group us all in there with the men that she's probably dated in the past. You can't group all of them together.
Right.
That's unfair.
Right. Everybody,
come on, man.
Everybody is an individual. You know what I'm saying? So, again, we talked about this last episode. Just because you dealt with one person at once, you can't automatically put all people in that category. That's like saying, me putting you in a certain category just because you're bald or just because you beard gang.
Yeah.
Like that's not cool.
That's not cool at all.
That may not even be accurate.
Right.
And then to bracket all black men in one category, I'm sure, and this is no shade to Loni, we're saying this because a lot of black women have said this exact same thing. I'm sure she wouldn't want people to bracket her in a certain category by saying, okay, all heavyset, females ain't
right.
or all dark-skinned females ain't
right.
or all female, like black female comedians are whack. Like, she wouldn't be cool with that.
Not at all.
And from my understanding, when it actually aired live, like you said, she tried to joke about
You can't
it.
joke about when you say something like that.
But,
it's not a joking way.
Yeah, but black men felt a certain type of way
Yeah.
because it was kind of like, okay,
you
she
saying
said,
all
now
us?
let's keep going.
You saying
No,
all us?
wait a minute. We got to talk about this. Definitely not cool. One of our viewers mentioned that some black women prefer not to date black because of the stigma that all black men are lazy, abusive, violent, not loyal, not trustworthy, have no respect. And we all know the list goes on and on and on and on.
And on.
And on.
And on. And on.
You kind of touched on this last week, though. This, like, on the opposite end, although last week we were talking about the black women and what some black men feel towards them and why they choose to date white, or not white, but outside of the black nationality. But it's the same that goes for men. Like, media plays a huge role in
putting the image out there of how we
about
like
our black men.
Yeah, like negative imagery. So it's like women see that and just group all of us together. Like I said, you got to know how to differentiate between the two.
And I feel like it's sad because
know what you're dealing with before you just say be like all black men ain't or most ain't. Come on, man.
I feel like it's sad too because I think about movies and stuff that we watch. The good movies, you know, the ones that hit the box office, most of that imagery of black men puts them in a horrible light. You know what I'm saying? They're either thieves, they're either robbers.
Yeah,
you know
like
what I'm saying? Abusive,
not taking care of our kids.
Pants drop down from their butt.
We can't talk, we can't articulate our words, all of that.
Yeah, and
get
then
thrown out on us, man.
But then the movies that do portray our black men in a great light as great fathers, articulate, loving, those are the movies that go straight to BET that may not necessarily even get views like that, or that may go to Netflix that people don't even watch, that don't even talk about. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. So
again, we personally feel like when it comes to what we see on TV, shouldn't be mimicked all the time. And going into that, I feel like, which will segue us perfectly into our next point, you know, within the household, I think about growing up, how many times I heard a relative on the phone bad-mouthing a black man.
Hundreds of times.
Yeah, which, you know, sits into the psyche. So if that individual or that child or teenager hears that enough, then when they go out into the world, they're going to communicate the exact same narrative, which is, okay, black men ain't because of X, Y, and Z. And I feel like it's even more sad when somebody that you know and love is bad-mouthing another person that you know and love in a negative light. Right. As opposed to, you know, okay, if it's an issue that I feel personally about towards you, I'm not going to badmouth you towards somebody else. I'm going to start the conversation with you to say, okay, this is what I personally feel, you know, what ways you should change, as opposed to, oh, girl, let me tell you that Trav out here, you know what I'm saying, moving like he ain't. Even with black women, like, and how, y'all know we have our sister circles sometimes, and that's all we're doing is bad-mouthing our black men. But when is the last time we've had a sister circle and we're communicating the things that they are doing right, or praising the men who are great fathers? Like, I feel like if we talk about something enough, we're manifesting it. So if I'm always talking about black men ain't that's what I'm manifesting, as opposed to if I'm speaking positivity over our black men, you know what I mean?
It's gonna help boost instead of tear down.
Yeah. Crazy.
Boost up before you tear down.
Please.
This is one of my third points, close to the final one I had, but it say black women are the only group of women who take pleasure in chastising their male counterparts It's a symptom of the dysfunction rooted in black culture.
It is.
We have to stop that. So that means it's been happening since beginning of time. Since like we need to stop that. Like why us? Why us as a black race tear us down? I don't understand that. I never will. But it ain't for me to understand. But I just don't get that.
Yeah.
You don't do nothing but hurt when you do that instead of help.
I think that, you know, tag teaming on the last episode, I think that definitely goes back to unfortunately the mindset of the culture, not just now, not 10 years ago, but I think there was some type of disconnect, after slavery, after the Martin Luther King and the Malcolm X era, because back then
it was more dignity. It was more
pride.
We built each other up back like
right.
50s, 60s, 70s, 80s.
Right.
90s too. I can't say 90s, yeah, but it's like after that,
back,
yeah, it was like the black women stood up for their black men, black men stood up for their black women. Like it wasn't no tear down. It was like we all was unified. I don't know what happened.
And I don't know, you talk about this frequently, like I don't know if it was after the Reagan era, after drugs had flooded our community.
It probably was after that crack came, after that the
Reaganomics,
man. After that crack came in, I think that's what that was like the jump start of like where we are now, because that broke so many homes, that divided so much in the communities. Like when crack came in, it just ramshacked everything. So it's like if you under a substance that's powerful, that destroys, of course it's going to tear down instead of lifting. So since then, it's been kind of bogus, but
yeah, we
know, it's a couple people that does still rock with them same means. So appreciate y'all.
And I feel like, we need to still encourage, not saying that there aren't some black men who fall into this category that we're talking about on a negative aspect of things, but at some point we need to start uplifting each other and teaching each other and talking to each other to say, hey, let me try to show you another light. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Another way of doing things, another way of not only respecting others but respecting yourself, because I feel like this goes hand in hand. If our black brothers aren't respecting themselves, then they aren't attracting black women, because we're looking the other way. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? As opposed to if our black brothers are respecting themselves, they're attracting every black female out here, because they're like, oh, let me, you know what I'm saying? Let me tell him how I feel about him. You mentioned a little bit about, the household as far as like women, but it's another huge key point in this article, y'all, that it steps on toes, but I feel like whenever we're trying to fix a situation, we've got to address the problem at hand.
Yeah, the men who grow up to be shitty, in the article it said, are often raised by women who either tolerate the shittiness, ignore it, encourage it themselves. This is what we call learned behavior.
So we definitely got to talk about this, because we mentioned last episode that there's a lot of things, both good and bad, that we as human beings pick up because it's a learned behavior. We either see it in the household, we either see it, in school where somebody is doing something and we like, oh, okay, well, I guess that's the it thing to do. We see it in our neighborhoods. Everything can either become a learned behavior or, based off of what we see, or it's something that we go out there to learn. So when it comes to the household, we talked about this last time, that unfortunately in the African American community, there are some households, I'm not going to say all, there are some households that are broken, that don't have, where kids don't grow up in a 2-parent household. And for those situations, y'all know, we've seen them in movies, where the mother will tolerate a H dude and will allow that man to not, have a job, where she going out there making ends meet, coming home cooking, coming home cleaning, and then the man that's in the household ain't doing nothing. So if that woman has a child, and if that child is a male, that male may be, in the psyche learning either one or two things. Either A, okay, when I grow up, that's not the type of man that I'm going to be because I didn't, like the fact that another man was disrespecting my mother in that light. Or either B, they're going to grow up reciprocating what they saw.
Exactly. They're going to repeat what they saw in front of them.
Right. So if
learn
they saw
behavior. So if they saw a woman, their mom wasn't and he saw how she moved, of course the male gonna grow up like, oh, okay, this how I'm supposed to treat women, but that's not how you're supposed to treat women, but he had a poor example. Right. That means something.
And I feel like if we aren't, you say this all the time, if we aren't showing our youth another way of, a better way of doing things.
We can't expect them to stop.
We can't be like, oh, they should know better. How if they weren't taught better? How if they weren't shown better? And the reality is
Thug life. That's what's gonna happen with that if you do that.
Look up the acronym.
Look it up yourself.
Yes.
My man Pac said it best. Thug life.
But then too, like the reality is, we're all a part of somebody's village. In the day and age that we live in with all of this technology, the youth out here are picking up so much more than just from their parents or from their grandparents.
Yeah, picking
or
up from
their
TV,
uncles.
Social media, YouTube. Come on, man. We gotta be realistic.
So we have to counteract everything that they're exposed to. If a child is on TV for 2 or 3 hours, guess what? Somebody has got to be counteracting all the negative mess that's already filtered into their brains and down into their hearts and all that stuff. Somebody else has to counteract all of that and teach them something different. So whether it's us or whether it's you or whether it's, your relatives or your church family or whatever, we've got to change the narrative. We've got to teach different. We've got to demonstrate different. But if that means that, okay, you have to take on initiative and demonstrate how a male is supposed to dress and how he's supposed to talk and, still be able to attract a woman and have a great relationship. You know what I'm saying? Imagine how many people you are impacting just like another black brother. You know what I'm saying? Our black brothers matter.
Been matter.
Regardless of what the media says, and regardless of what, your family members have
just
said.
Just like our black queens matter is equally the same.
Exactly. So another one of our viewers mentioned that in their opinion, they feel like black women prefer to not date black because black men are unable to provide financially, are unable to lead and or support their lifestyle. So basically, like if they're saying if the female has a rich and famous lifestyle, the black male is unable to provide that. This kind of goes hand in hand to the learned behavior because I feel like it's wrong of us as humans, regardless of what gender, to expect another person to automatically know something that they haven't been shown or, they haven't researched on their own. But I feel like when two people come together, we can have enough compassion to say, okay, you may not know how to do something, but I do. Let me show you how to do X, Y, and Z. You know what I'm saying? Right. So if you feel like a black man is unable to provide financially and, he's working or whatever, let's say he doesn't know how to budget and you do. What's so hard about taking the time to be like, hey, black brother, let me show, or black king, let me show you how to budget. It's going to change your life. Or let me create a seminar. If I'm a pro at finances, let me create a seminar and invite.
How to save money and all that, it goes hand in hand.
Right. And even during, like at this point, we're all in quarantine. So even if we don't necessarily go to a conference, what's wrong with setting up your phone, saying, okay, let me share the knowledge and the information that I know personally, put it up on YouTube or share it on a social platform, share it with the black brothers that I know to help each other grow. I feel like and maybe we could talk about this during another topic, but as African Americans, I feel like one of the reasons that we struggle so much with certain things is because we have a crab mentality. Everything that has been shared with us, it's like we want to keep it to ourselves.
Yeah, instead of helping the next man like every other race does. It's almost like I got mine, you got to get yours. That's unfair. Right. We always going to be divided if that's the mental.
Right, because
you
the reality is somebody helped you become the CEO of your company or helped you become a, multi-million-dollar business. So if somebody else helped you, what's the problem with reaching back and saying, hey, let me share this knowledge with my people? When it comes to the whole, support your lifestyle, comment, again, this goes back to the last episode. You mentioned it. When it comes to a relationship, both of us should already have a bag that we've already secured or that we're securing. And
it balances out. You shouldn't come into a relationship like you need to do everything. You're fooling yourself.
That's not cool.
That's stupidity.
And if that's the type of relationship that you want, then you need to go find you a sugar daddy
or a guy that got billions already. You got yachts and boats. Go find one of them because that's the best bet.
Because that's not what it should be. Marriage is definitely not that. It should be shared responsibility in this thing. At the end of the day, I think we, on both ends, whether you're female, African American, whether you're a male African American or any other nationality, just in general, and you're interacting with us black folk, I think at the end of the day, we have to remember two things. April Parker Jones actually said this, and I love this. She said, as African Americans, although she's not against interracial dating or interracial marriage, she said that as African Americans, we simply understand each other in ways that other nationalities do, because of the fact that there's certain traumas that us as African Americans have gone through or are going through.
That we understand each other.
Yes.
I understand her struggle as a black woman in America. Yes. She understands my struggle as a black man in America.
Yes.
We don't have to explain that to each other, and that makes us love each other harder because of what we went through and currently go through as a race.
Yes. And if we partner together and work together, we can actually help heal each other's pain as opposed to contributing to the weight and the pain that's already on us.
Right.
And then another thing, black queens, I personally feel like, we definitely have to do our part in changing the narrative. Understand that there are some really great black kings out here that's grinding, that are capable of loving, that
that does take care of their families, that does value you as a woman, that does take care of you, that does nurture you, that doesn't put his hands on. Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? But we have to be able to see those qualities and not assume that our black brothers are either gay or are weak. You know what I'm saying? If you see a black brother that's out here that's doing his thing, celebrate him. That doesn't even mean that you gotta like him like that.
Just be like, I see you. You keeping it going.
Right.
You know what you're supposed to do. That we need that sometime.
Yes, I feel like if no other gender, our males need to hear that, especially our black men, because the world is not telling them that
at all.
So if the world isn't telling them that, if they aren't getting that within their own households, you can't expect our black brothers to be out here walking around sane in the membrane. You know what I'm saying? Right. So black queens, just like we mentioned last week to our black kings to change the narrative, black queens, let's change the narrative too. You know what I'm saying? Let's make the hashtag Black Love trend. Let's make this a thing. Again, we are not saying that we only encourage black on black love. We're simply just saying, because we don't see this enough, because the narrative is so negative, if you choose a relationship with a black brother or a black queen, understand that yes, it may be tough at first, but you can work through this. We work through this. Right. Y'all see us.
Y'all can do it.
We love y'all.
Love y'all, man.
We appreciate y'all for tuning in.
Yes,
share this video.
Please.
Subscribe. Share it with everybody y'all know.
Please.
We trying to change up the narrative, y'all. We trying to be better in 2020 in spite of what's going on.
No doubt.
We love y'all.
Love y'all, man. Love.
Peace.